start with the prayers. Om
Sada Shiva Samabram Shankaracharya Madhvacharya Paryantam
Vande Guru Parampara.
Saraswati
Namastutyam
Varate
Kamarupini
Vyarambham
Karishyami
Bhavatu Me Sada
Bhavatu Me Sada. Om
Sahana
Sahana
Bhavatu
Bhavatu
Sahanau
Sahanau
Bhunaktu
Bhunaktu
Saha
Saha
Viryam
Karavavahai Tejasvinavati
Tamastu Ma
Vidvishvavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Shanti
Vasudevendra
Devendra
Yoginram
Yogindram
Jnana
Jnana Gurum
Mumukshunam Hitattvaya
Tattvaya
Tattva Vidhiyate.
Bodhiyate.
So last week we started with the Panchakosha and we finished the first one, which is Annamaya Kosha. So we saw all this and we said Annamaya Kosha is nothing but Karana Sharira, Sthula Shariram. It is the physical body and it is also Srishti Karanam, Sthiti Karanam and Laya Karanam. The basis for the creation, sustenance and the dissolution of this physical body. Okay, so this was about Annamaya Kosha, which we saw in detail in the last class. And now we will move on to the second kosha, which is the Pranamaya Kosha. Now, we already saw in the last class that Annamaya Kosha is nothing but Sthula Shariram, the physical body. Now, the next three koshas, that is Pranamaya, Manomaya, and Vijnanamaya Kosha, these three together correspond to Sukshma Shariram, okay, the subtle body. So, why is there a classification into Prana, Manomaya, and Vijnanamaya? That also we will see now. Okay, first we will see the three koshas. Pranamaya kaha.
Pranamaya
Pranamaya
Panchavayavaha. Pranadhyaha Panchavayavaha.
Pranadhyaya Panchavaya
Vagindriya Panchakam.
Pranamaya
Agahindriya
Panchakam
Pranamaya koshaha.
Pranamaya Koshaha.
Now we are at Pranamaya kosha, the energy sheath. The energy sheath. Okay. Now, here the author has given what are the components of this Pranamaya kosha. And he says Pranadhyaha Panchavayavaha. The prana adi, that is prana, etc. The 5 types of prana is one component of Pranamaya kosha. And what is the other component? Vagindriya Panchaka. Indriya. Which Indriya? The Vak, etc. Indriya, also called as the Karmendriyas, the Pancha Karmendriya. So these 5 pranas plus the 5 Karmendriyas, this is the Pranamaya Kosha. Now, which are the 5 pranas? You can tell me, since we've already done this. What are the 5 pranas?
Prana, Apana, Udana, Vyana, Saman.
Yes. What is prana? What does it correspond to?
Circulatory
Circulatory system.
Which one is prana? Which physiological system does it correspond to?
Respiration.
The breath.
respiratory system. Next is prana apana. What is apana correspond to?
Excretion.
The evacuation. And
Yes.
then samana,
Circulation.
digestion. Then
And then
jnana,
Circulation.
circulation. And finally the last one, udana,
For speech, throat area, speech and emergency.
the emergency.
Burping.
Yes, the emergency response system. So these are the 5 pranas that we have. The author has called them by another name, Vayu. So Vayu and prana, they are used interchangeably, referring to these 5 systems. Okay, now remember when we say prana, you can either be referring to the heading pancha prana or the sub prana, which is prana, apana. Okay, so don't get confused. That is why the author has used prana adi. Prana adi means prana, apana, udana, etc. Okay, panchavayu means the overall heading, the overall name of all these 5 together. So these 5 plus karmendriyas. Which are the karmendriyas?
Eyes, ear,
No. Vayu. Upas.
Sanskrit.
Speech.
Vak, Pani, Pad,
Vayu.
Vak, pani, pada, payu, upasthara. What is vak?
Speech.
Organ of speech, not speech, organ of speech.
organ of speech.
Okay. Then pani,
Hand, organ of hand.
the
Hands.
hands, the organ for grasping things. Then pada,
Feet,
feet, organ of movement. Then payu,
Organ of excretion.
excretion,
and upasthaha,
reproduction.
Production.
organ of reproduction. Okay, so these are the 5 karmendriyas. And so this 5 plus 5 is the pranamaya kosha. Okay. Next we will see manomaya kosha. Manomaya kosha kaha.
Manomaya Koshakaha.
Manascha jnanendriya panchakam.
Manasya Panchakam.
Panchakam.
Militva yo bhavati.
Militva
Bhavati.
Samanomaya kosha.
Samanomaya Koshaha.
Koshaha.
So now the third kosha is called manomaya kosha, or the mental sheath, the mind sheath, the psychological sheath. Okay, and what does this consist of? So the author has given, he has said manaha. Manaha is what? What is manaha? We have done all this, that's why I'm asking you.
Mind.
Just mind.
Sankalpa vikalpa.
Faculty of the mind,
Sorry?
the emotional faculty of the mind.
The
emotional
modifications of the
faculty.
mind.
The emotional faculty or the doubting faculty of the mind is called manaha. Okay, so it is not just mind, it is the doubting faculty or the emotional faculty of the mind. Okay, so remember that in English, the words are inadequate. And that is why we have to use complete sentences to give the full correct meaning. This manaha and plus jnanendriya panchakam, the 5 jnanendriyas. What are the jnanendriyas? The sense organs, input organs.
Seeing, hearing,
Eyes, ears,
touching.
nose, touch, skin.
Yes.
Chakshu.
Prana,
Prana.
Shotram, vak, chakshu, and then
Prana, Gandha.
Sanam and Graham.
yes, rasanam, ghrana. Okay, the 5 organs of input, of knowledge, the ones that pick up information about the world. So these are the 5 types. So this manaha plus these 5 jnanendriyas, militva. Militva means combined. So this combination of this manaha plus jnanendriya, this is called as manomaya kosha. Okay, so this is the information gathering capacity using the jnanendriyas, and then this manaha represents the doubting faculty of the mind. Sankalpa vikalpatmaka manaha. This or that, doubting. Okay. So this is manomaya kosha. Now we'll see the next one. The vijnanamaya kosha. We'll read this. Vijnanamaya kaha.
Jnanamaya
Maya
kaha.
Buddhi jnanendriya panchakam.
Buddhi
Buddhi
Jnanendriya
Jnanendriya
Panchakam
Panchakam.
Militva yo bhavati.
Militva yo bhavati.
Bhavati
Savijnanamaya kosha.
Savijnanamaya
Savijnanamaya
Koshaha.
koshaha.
Okay. So now we are talking about the Vijnanamaya kosha, the intellectual sheath, the rational sheath. Okay, and what is it composed of? So here the author says Buddhi plus Jnanendriya Panchakam. So if you notice, the Jnanendriya is common for Manomaya as well as Vijnanamaya. The input organs are common. They appear there also and here also. And this Jnanendriya in combination with Buddhi is Vijnanamaya kosha. What is Buddhi?
Intellect.
Decision making.
To know
Or
what is right and wrong.
the intellectual capacity of the mind, the discriminative capacity of the mind, the decisive capability of the mind. Okay, so whenever there is a doubt, it is manaha. Whenever there is a decision, it is buddhi. So suppose you see a flower. The knowledge is that this is a flower, but then suddenly there is a doubt. Is this a real flower or is this a plastic flower? And then when you go and you touch it, and then you realize, okay, this is a real flower. So there was doubt. Whenever there is doubt, what happens? There are options. There is more than one choice in doubt, right? This or that. Should I do? Should I not do? Is it like this or is it like that? So whenever there is more than one choice, that is manaha, that is doubt. And when that doubt resolves and solidifies into one decisive choice or one decisive thought, that is buddhi. Okay? So this buddhi is the rational or the decisive faculty of the mind. And it is in combination with the jnanendriya. So this buddhi plus jnanendriya, this militva, this combination is what we call as vijnanamaya kosha. So these are the 3 koshas. And now a question may come that why are we classifying it in this way? It's the same Sukshma Shariram that we have studied already, right? With all the 19 components. So why is it coming again? So this time, the classification of the Sukshma Shariram is a functional classification. Based on functionality, we have classified into 3: Vijnana, Mana, Mano, and Pranamaya Kosha. 3 categories based on functionality. And what are those functions that we have used to classify? So there are 3 functions. The first is called Jnana Shakti. Jnana Shakti is the power of knowing, power of discriminating. So power of knowledge is called Jnana Shakti, power of cognition, of knowing. The second functionality is Ichha Shakti, the power of desire, the power of wanting something. And the third is Kriya Shakti, the power of action, actually doing something. Okay, so based on these three functionalities, these three koshas have been divided. Now, Jnana Shakti, which one does it represent?
Vijnanamaya,
Vijnanamaya kosha.
Jnanamaya. Ichha Shakti,
Manomaya,
Manomaya kosha.
Pranamaya kosha. And Kriya Shakti,
Pranamaya.
Pranamaya kosha. Why? Because Kriya Shakti, the power of expression of action, is done through the pranic system using the karmendriyas. Right? So the karmendriyas backed by energy, they are the ones that finally execute the action. Manaha is the seat of desire. Okay, Manaha is the seat of desire, and Buddhi is it represents the Jnana Shakti, the power of knowledge, the power of knowing. And so this is why, based on these three, we have divided into three koshas. Now, it is important here to remember that action presupposes desire, okay, and desire presupposes knowledge. Means what? That only once you know about something, you can desire for it. Can you desire for something that you don't even know? No, right? If you know, you go back 100 years or 200 years, do you think the people back then desired for a phone, a cell phone?
No, because they didn't know about it.
Because the phone didn't even exist then, so they didn't know about it. And so if you don't know about it, how can you desire for it? That is why desire presupposes knowledge. You can only desire for that which you know about. But that doesn't mean that everything you know about you may desire. Okay? You may know, but you may not desire. But if you have to desire, you have to compulsorily know about it. For example, suppose there is a bald man. Okay, there's a bald man and he gets to know about a shampoo that makes the hair very silky. Would he have a desire for this shampoo?
No.
No. So he has knowledge about the shampoo, but no desire for this shampoo. Okay, so desire necessarily presupposes knowledge, but knowledge doesn't necessarily give rise to desire. Okay, so this is the relationship. And having desire, then you act on it. In order for you to act on something, there must be a desire, a wish to do that thing, and then you will act on it. Okay, so this is the sequence. This is the understanding that action presupposes desire, desire presupposes knowledge, and that is why this Jnana Shakti, Ichha Shakti, Kriya Shakti are classified and correspond to each of the three, Vijnanamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, and the Pranamaya. Okay? So with this, we have finished these three koshas. Yes, June.
Oh, Medaji. Can we go back to the Manomaya Kosha slide? I think I missed something. I'm not sure. Because in the Manomaya Kosha, we're talking about the manas and the Jnanendriyas, but Chitta, the subconscious mind, is not mentioned here.
Not mentioned here in this text, but if we have to classify, then generally we put Chitta also in the Manomaya Kosha and we put Ahankara in the Vijnanamaya Kosha.
Okay, and it was my impression, or we repeated the Jnanendriyas also in the Vijnanamaya Kosha?
Yes.
So we have them in both Manomaya and Vijnanamaya Kosha.
Yes, it is common. They work in conjunction.
Okay, so thank you. It's new information today. I didn't know that.
Now now we come to the last kosha, the Anandamaya kosha. We can read this.
Medhaji, can I?
Yeah.
So chitta memory comes under Manomaya kosha, is it?
Yes.
Okay. And ahankara under Vijnanamaya.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Anandamaya kosha, we'll read this. Anandamaya kaha.
आनन्दमयकः
एवमेव कारणशरीरभूत
एवमेव कारणशरीरभूता
अविद्यास्थ
अविद्यास्था
मलिनसत्त्वं
मलिनसत्त्वं
प्रियादिवृत्तिसहितं
प्रियादिवृत्तिसहितं
सदानन्दमयकोशः
तदानन्दमयकोशः
एतत् कोशपञ्चकम्
एतत्कोशपञ्चकम्
Now we are starting Anandamaya kosha, and it is important to remember here that this Anandamaya kosha is nothing but Karana Sharira, which we have already seen before. So this is not some new thing. This is the same thing that we are looking in a slightly different way. Okay, slightly different way of looking at Karana Shariram. Just it comes in the different classification under Panchakosha, but it is actually Karana Shariram. Now, that is what the author says here. This is nothing but Karana Sharira. This Karana Sharira Bhuta is nothing but it is of the nature of, or it is in the form of Karana Shariram. It is basically Karana Sharira. And he has also used the word avidyastha. Avidyastha is another word for Mula Avidya. And Mula Avidya is another technical word for Karana Shariram. Okay, it is, if you want a very technical definition, it is just Maya from the Vyashti point of view. Maya pertaining to a particular individual is the Mula Avidya. That is the technical definition. So just to clarify that further, he has used the word avidyastha, which means Mula Avidya, which is nothing but Maya or Karana Sharira. Okay, now when we studied this Sushupti Avastha, the deep sleep state, we gave it two characteristics. What are they?
Ananda?
Anand.
Anda and ignorance.
Total ignorance.
Yes, Sukham and Ajnanam, right? Sukham is happiness, Ajnanam is ignorance. So here, once again, the same idea is being presented. So this Anandamaya kosha also we has two characteristics, which are Malina Sattva. The first one is Malina Sattva. Malina Sattva means tainted Sattvam, which we can take to mean obstructed knowledge. So it is just another way of saying Ajnanam or ignorance. Okay, so this Anandamaya kosha, one characteristic is Ajnanam, ignorance. Just like in the deep sleep state, there is total ignorance there, right? So in the same way, the same characteristic is now being called as Malina Sattva. Then, what was the second one? Sukham, right? Because there is total ignorance, there is no knowledge that, okay, I am this person and so I have these problems. Because of all of the absence of these kind of limitations and associations, identifications, because of absence of all that, there is also Sukham in deep sleep, right? And so that is why the author says, Priyadi Vritti Sahitam. This just represents Sukham. Now, what are Priyadi Vritti? We will see. So, Sahitam means with, and with the Priyadi Vritti, which represents happiness. So once again, the two major characteristics are being covered using the words Malina Sattvam and Priyadi Vritti Sahitam. The Ajnana and Sukham are the two characteristics mentioned for Anandamaya Kosha.
Medhaji Om, could you please again explain this Priyadi Vritti? So,
We
what
will see
exactly?
that in detail.
Okay.
Okay. So these are the two characteristics. Now we will see what is Priyadi Vritti. So in Shastra, happiness is classified into 3 degrees, 3 levels, each level deeper than the previous one. And these 3 levels are called Priya, Moda and Pramoda. Priya, Moda and Pramoda. Now, so I'll give you an example. Suppose you are hungry and you're walking on the street and you see a nice cake shop. Now, as soon as you see the cake, there is a certain level of happiness. When you see the cake through the window of the shop, there is 1 degree of happiness. And then you decide, okay, I'm going to buy this cake. So you go inside and you buy the cake and now you've got it in your hands. So this is a higher level of happiness because now you have acquired the cake. And finally, what is the highest level of happiness? When you eat the cake. When you experience the joy of eating the cake, that is the highest level of happiness. So there are 3 levels here. First is seeing the cake, which is called Darshana Sukham, the pleasure of seeing that object. Then you go and you acquire it, you buy it, and now it is in your hands and you possess it. And that is called Grahana Sukham. Having acquired it, the pleasure associated with that acquisition, that is the Grahana Sukham. And finally, once you eat it, the experiential pleasure you get, that is Anubhava Sukham. Okay, so the 3 levels, Darshana Sukham, Grahana Sukham and Anubhava Sukham. So Darshana Sukham corresponds to Priya, then Grahana Sukham to Moda, and finally Anubhava Sukham to Pramoda. So 3 levels of happiness, each one a little deeper than the previous one. And so what the author is telling here is that these are the 3 levels generally that we experience, 3 levels of happiness, and in sleep also these 3 levels of happiness are contained. So the deeper your sleep is, the more quietude and the more happiness you experience. So just like how there is degrees of happiness, there's also degrees of sleep, right? The depth of the sleep. So sometimes you sleep very light, the smallest thing will wake you. And sometimes you sleep so deeply that any noise outside, nothing wakes you up, right? So the deeper the sleep, the deeper the quietude, the deeper is the happiness associated with that sleep also. So even though it is not clearly distinguishable in deep sleep, it is there. The different degrees are there. So that is what the author is conveying by the use of Priyadi Vritti Sahitam. The levels of degrees of happiness. Okay. And Etat Kosha Panchakam. With this, we have finished the Panchakosha. Now, as you can see, it is nothing new that we have studied in Panchakosha. We have already seen all of this in the Shariratrayam, and here we just saw the same thing in a slightly different way, right? So in a slightly different classification, we have seen the same thing again. So just a different methodology of classification. That is all. It is called a prakriya, a different methodology. So now that we have finished this, yes, Vandanaji.
Sorry, Medhaji. I want to know the difference between avidya and malan sattvam. They're both ignorance. What is the difference?
Avidya is a technical word for Maya.
Okay.
Here, avidya is not to be taken as just simply ignorance.
So it will be different than Malin Sattvam then. Malin Sattvam is ignorance.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, you. You're on mute. Still muted, June. June, I cannot hear you because you are muted.
Sorry. Okay. So I was wondering, like, we studied two prakriyas of the same concepts. So I was wondering, what is the benefits of knowing the same concepts in these two different perspectives? What's the plus for us?
There are different prakriyas used in different Upanishads. You'll find different ways. So some of the most popular ways have been selected here. So Avasthatrayam, Shariratrayam, and Panchakosha are some of the popular prakriyas, and that is why they have been selected. You may find even others also. But the point being that no matter how you look at it, it is still anatma.
Okay.
So you shouldn't come back and tell, okay, what about my prana? What if that is atma? So we are very clearly dismissing all these ideas.
Okay. And the second question was regarding the previous question of one student. Avidya is a technical term for Maya, and Mula Avidya is that Maya, but just pertaining to a particular individual, right?
Avidya is the technical term, but for Maya from a Vyashti point of view.
Okay.
Okay, so Vyashti means the individual, and so that is why Mula Avidya is the Maya when we are talking from Vyashti point of view.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, Medhaji, I have a question over here. These panchakoshas that we are talking about, it is related with aspect to the Jeev Atma only, or is it in the Samashti as well that we have to understand this?
So this is right now we are talking only from Vyashti, only from the Jivatma point of view.
Okay, so the Malin Sattvam in the Anandamaya Kosha over here. So Malin essentially would be impure, right? Malin is something which is tainted, like you said. So what Sattvam is tainted in this?
Some can usually represents knowledge, happiness. So in deep sleep, you are happy, but do you know that you are happy?
No,
Do you even know that you are asleep?
no.
Only upon waking up you know. So that is why it is tainted or obstructed knowledge.
Okay. So what is pure Sattvam then? So, pure Sattvam in the causal body would be what then?
It would not be in the causal body. We would not call it that.
Okay, right. Thank you.
So when you think of Sattvam, don't think in terms of only the gunas. Sometimes the word Sattvam has different meanings. It depends on different contexts. Here it means knowledge.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and it doesn't always mean that guna which represents purity and all those things. So don't think of it only in terms of that. Sometimes the word Sattva becomes a technical word for mind, for antakarana. They don't say mind in certain texts. They just use the word Sattva. And you're supposed to understand we're talking about the mind right now.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So in this context, you have to take it as obstructed knowledge.
Okay.
So with this, we have finished the 5 koshas, and effectively the author has dismissed all of this. If you remember how the chapter started, the student asked what is Atma, and the author started by telling what is not Atma. And in all of in the list of what is not Atma, all of these things that we discussed were covered. Right? So basically he said Atma is none of these things. Atma is not the Sukshma Shariram, Sthula Shariram, Karana Shariram. Atma is not the waking state, dream state, deep sleep state. Atma is not the Panchakosha. Atma is none of these things. And this was made clear in the very first statement. Right? Now, remember that Atma means you yourself. So when we say what is Atma, it is not some separate thing we are talking about. The question actually resolves to who are you? When I say what is Atma, the question is who am I? And we have just dismissed everything that I thought I was. If I thought I am the body, or author has said you're not the body, you're not the thoughts, you're not your emotions, you're not your mind, you're not the sleep state, you're not the dream state, you're not even the waking state, you're not the prana, you're not ignorance also, you are not any of these things. In fact, you're not even happiness, the sukham. We'll see why that is. Okay, so you're not even any of those things. Now the question comes, everything that is in my experience has been negated. Everything that I thought I am has been negated. So now the question becomes very serious. Who am I really? What is this Atma? Who am I? What is the nature of this Atma? Because everything I know, that is not Atma. Right? Outside of these things, outside of all this Panchakosha and Shariratrayam and Avasthatrayam, can you think of anything else that you know about? Anything that you know about? No, because everything that you know has been already covered by this and has been categorically said, you are not these things. Okay, so now we come to the burning question of what is Atma? Who am I really? And so this little paragraph is an introduction to that. Okay, we'll read this now. Madiyam Shariram.
Madhyam
Shariram.
Shariram.
Madiya Pranaha.
Madhya Pranaha.
Madiyam Manascha.
Madhyam
Manascha.
Manascha.
Madiya Buddhihi.
Madhya
Madhya
Buddhihi.
Madiyam Ajnanamiti.
Madhyam Ajnanamiti.
Svenaiva Jnayate.
Naiva
Naiva
Jnayate.
Jnayate.
Tadyatha Madiyatvena Jnatam.
Tathata Madhyatvena Jnata.
Jnatam.
Kataka Kundala Grihadikam.
Kataka Kundala
Kundala Grihadikam.
Svatmad Bhinnam.
Swatmat.
Tatha Panchakoshadikam.
Panchakoshadika.
Swasmad Bhinnam.
Swatmat.
Madiyatvena Jnatam.
Madhyatvena
Jnatam.
Jnata.
Atmana Bhavati.
Atmana Bhavati.
So, here we are discussing a particular logic that is used in Shastra, which says that anything that I possess, I am not that. So the possessor is different from the possessed item. I am different from whatever I possess. Now, this is a very clear concept, clear logic when it comes to external objects. Nobody has any confusion. Suppose I ask, whose house is that? And you say, that is my house. And then I ask you, are you that house? And you say, no, I am not my house. The house belongs to me, but I am not my house. Right? It is very clear, it is very obvious. Then suppose I ask, okay, what about that car? The car belongs to me, it is my car, but I am not the car. Now we come a little more closer. What about the bangle on your hand? The bangle belongs to me, it is my bangle, but I am not the bangle. Then little more closer, what about the clothes you wear? They are my clothes, but I am not the clothes. Right? So they belong to me, I possess them, but they are different from me. Till here, nobody has any confusion, right? No confusion at all. You ask anybody in the world, and this is the answer you will get. The confusion begins with the physical body. And so our inquiry also begins with the physical body. That is the first level of confusion. In fact, the 5 koshas represent 5 levels of confusion or 5 locus of errors, 5 places or points where the error has taken place. The confusion that I am this thing. But actually, that is not the case. The thing belongs to you, you are not the thing. So we start with the physical body. The physical body, you say it is my body, means it belongs to you. But are you the body? So now all of you are advanced Vedanta students. So if I ask you, are you the body? You will confidently say no. But you try and talk to some of the other people. There are a lot of people in the world who still have this confusion. They will argue with you that if I'm not this body, what am I? I am this body, and so on. Right? But we are very clearly saying you are not the body. The body belongs to you. In fact, it's very interesting, if there is a person and the person says that, I am this cup, I am this cup, or I am this pen, what will happen? You will take that person to a psychiatrist and he will be treated because it's very clear you cannot be a cup. But the same person says, I am the body, and the psychiatric doesn't even blink, right? Because psychiatry or modern medicine, there is a line drawn that the rest of it is acceptable for them. But for us in Vedanta, just like how it is a very wrong statement to say, I am this cup, it is an equally wrong statement to say, I am this body. Okay, just as wrong as it is to say, I am some external object, it is equally wrong to say, I am the body or even the mind, because you are not that. Okay, unfortunately, psychology and psychiatry don't have that further distinction, but here we do. Okay, and so we are very clearly saying, just like how the cup belongs to you or the house belongs to you, in the same way the body belongs to you, but you are not that thing. You are not the body. And
Sorry, can I interrupt please here?
we'll come back to questions at the end, otherwise it will break the flow.
Thank you.
Okay, so just like how you are not this body, we extend this logic to all the koshas. Okay, all the levels where the error is possible, where the error is happening, we extend and we say, I am not the body. In the same way, I am not the functioning of this body. I am not the prana. I am not the thoughts. I am not the mind. I am not the intellect. I am not even the karana shariram. I am not the ignorance also. Why? Because all of these things belong to me. They are not me. You say, my body, my hunger, my thoughts, my mind, my emotions, my ignorance, my intellect. And the moment the my comes, it indicates possessiveness, it indicates belongingness, and therefore you are not that thing. So this is what is being told in this particular line. So we'll see now. Madiyam shariram, my shariram, my body. Madiya pranaha. my prana, all the 5 pranas, all the 5 functioning of the physiological systems. Madhyam manasya, my mind, my manaha, the emotional mind. Madhya buddhi, my intellect, my rational thinking. Madhyam ajnanam iti. Here ajnanam, you can take ignorance also, or you can take it representing the karana shariram, the anandmaya kosha. And if you see, there are 5 points over here, and these 5 correspond to the panchakosha, right? Shariram, prana, manaha, buddhi, and ajnanam representing anandmaya kosha. So these 5 koshas, they are known by me. Svenaiva jnayate, they are known by myself. In the same way, like for example, yatha madhiyatvena jnatam, the way I know kataka kundala grihadikam madhiyatvena. Madhiyatvena means belongingness, mine. Okay. Jnatam means to know. Kataka kundala grihadikam. Kataka means the bangle. Kundala means earrings. Griha means house. Adi means etc. So just like how I know all these belongings like my jewelry or the house or the car, all these things I know madhiyatvena, they belong to me. Swasma bhinnam, but they are different from me. Bhinnam means different, swasmat means from me. So swasmat bhinnam means different from me because they belong to me, they are not me. Tatha, in the same way. So till now, this was the example given. Yatha, yatha, the way I know all these things belong to me, but they're not me. Tatha, in the same way. Panchakoshadikam swasmat bhinnam. The Panchakosha is also different from me. I am not any of the Panchakosha. Madhiyatvena. The Panchakosha belongs to me. It is merely in my possession. That does not mean it is me. And Atma na bhavati. Here, the word Atma can mean Atma also, or it is me. Anyway, they are the same. So, Atma na bhavati. It is not me. It is not Atma. None of these things are Atma. They are all Anatma. They all only belong to me, but they are not me. So this is the logic that is being explained, and this acts as the introduction to the next part, which will be about the nature of Atma. Okay, now we can stop here and we can ask questions.
Oh, Medhaji, this portion, like you said, this belongs to me, but this is not me. But it can we also understand it to be a similar statement to I am in the bangle, I am in the object, I am in the body, I am in the kosha, in the mind, intellect. Is how are they different?
That comes at a much later step. You have jumped steps, and that is why you're saying that. At this level, first we have to negate what is not Atma. Once you negate and once you understand that, okay, there are 2 things, Atma and Anatma. See, remember that the problem is a problem of confusion, not just ignorance. If you simply don't know and you introduced a new thing and you tell this is the new thing, it's okay, you can accept. But the problem is not just mere ignorance, right? The problem is error on top of ignorance. Not only do you not know, but you think it is something else. So first a separation must happen, a distinction must happen, and that is why we are doing this much dissection and analysis. First we are going to say this is one thing, that is the other thing, and look at both of them separately. They are both 2 different things. And then later you can tell, once you have understood very clearly what is Atma, what is not Atma, then in the much 2 or 3 steps later, in the ultimate analysis, you will say that actually there is no thing called Anatma, it is all Atma only. So what I see around is nothing but Atma. But right now, because of the confusion, we have to go step by step. We have to create the distinction first, and then we have to resolve it in our understanding.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Yes, June?
Omedaji.
Yeah.
So we mentioned that the Jnanendriyas are shared between the Manomaya Kosha and the Vijnanamaya Kosha. Can you please like shed more light on this?
Even to doubt something, you need to know about it first, right?
Mhm.
Even to have a choice between two things, to have options between two things, you need to know first. And what is the instrument for knowing?
The Jnanendriyas.
Yes.
Okay.
Came with buddhi to resolve something, to arrive at one direction thought, one confident thought. You need to know, and the organs for knowing are the Jnanendriyas. So you need them. That's why they work together.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Deepa Verma. Okay. Meera Sen.
In this paragraph, Medaji, when we do Gita, many times Acharya says neti neti. Is this what we are doing here?
Yes, the first step of the study of Shastra is always neti neti. First, you have to negate. And there are many methods of negation. So one of the ways is Drik Drishya Viveka, where whatever you experience is not you. So the Drik is different from the Drishya. Fear is different from the seen object. So whatever you see, you are not that. Whatever you experience, you are not that. In the same way, whatever belongs to you, you are not that. And so on. So always first a negation, we start with the negation. Why is the negation necessary? Because there is a confusion. Because all these objects, if I don't negate them, I will still go on believing that, okay, this is probably Atma. So we have to very clearly say, no, this is not Atma. You put it aside.
Yes.
And then we resolve it in the understanding.
Mm.
Yes,
Thank you.
Deepa Verma.
Yeah, Meghaji, it's something like that. This sharir is mine. Whatever I'm feeling in this bhuk, pyas, rag, dvesh, that is what not I am.
Yeah. What you feel, including the thoughts, including your emotions, including raga dvesha, including everything. You are none of those things, including, by the way, priyadi vritti. You are not even priyadi vritti. Why? Because there also there is a variation, there is a change, there is a fluctuation in the degree of happiness. And anything that fluctuates, you are not that.
So so Meghaji, it means whatever is changeable, that is not me.
Yes, that which changes is not you. Because think of it this way, to identify something is changing, you need one thing that doesn't change, right? A point of reference that does not change. If everything is changing, how will you ever identify change? To even identify the changing nature of things, you need a point of reference that does not change. And therefore, all that changes is not you, but that which does not change, that is you.
So in short, ये सब मेरे हैं, but ये मैं नहीं.
Correct. Yes. Next, any other questions?
Oh,
I
Medaji.
am the awareness experiencing all these things. Is it right?
Yes, you can say that. You are the Sakshi, the witness of all these things. Yes.
Oh, Miraji.
Yeah.
My doubt is that you mentioned that Gyan, when we talk about Jnana Shakti and Ichha Shakti, that we can only desire that we know of. And then I thought that we desire moksha, and that means we got to know about something like moksha exists. So if we just date it back to like the first person who got moksha or who got to know that they are the consciousness, can we say that uh, they were the rishis who discovered Vedas?
You are bringing multiple topics in. So, okay.
Yeah,
First of all, rishis and jnanis are different. Okay. And second, we cannot really answer the question who's the first person who got moksha. It's like asking the question, who is the first person who even became alive or who was existing? The first person. We don't have the answers to those questions. That is point one. Next, about moksha itself. Moksha, in the beginning, we do treat it like a desire, and we do say that yes, this is an acceptable desire and you should have it. But finally, you have to understand that whatever we are talking about here through this Ichcha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti, all of these things are acquisitions finally. They are things that you acquire because you think you don't have them. But when it comes to moksha, do you really acquire anything? Have you gained anything new? Have you become something else?
No.
No. Where is the question of acquisition or of, getting something? There's no getting anything. You're already this thing. You just simply don't know. And because of that, there is a struggle, there is suffering. That is all. So, moksha, rather than thinking of it as gaining something, think of it as getting rid of all the suffering. That is all. There is nothing new that you have become.
But it still applies to the concept of like Maya. It's in the boundaries of Maya, right?
Finally, I'm going to say a statement that is going to confuse you. Moksha is also mithya. Okay. Moksha is also mithya, as mithya as samsara. So it is very much within the bounds of Maya. Yes. Okay. Shall we stop here? And in the next class, we will see what is Tattva.
Medaji, one question.
Yes.
Through Savana Manana Nitidhyasana and clear understanding of clarity emerging, yet the final state of realizing you are the Brahman eludes. Why?
Because of incomplete nididhyasana, incomplete assimilation. Once you know that you are Brahman, you are already a Jnani. Once you doubtlessly know, you are already a Jnani.
No, that remains theoretical, but not experientially yet.
Yeah, exactly. The problem is that the suffering also still exists, even though you know you are Brahman. And so to get rid of that, that is why Nididhyasana, the assimilation, getting rid of the
No, for example, 1,000 people learn Tattva, Bodha, Vedanta, and Vedas and Upanishad. Yet, mostly none of them is Brahmagyan yet.
you know they're not.
Yeah, why is it? Why is this? Why is this?
It is because of the obstructions in the mind. That is why Chitta Shuddhi is a very important criteria. And post Jnanam Chitta Shuddhi, what we call Nididhyasana, that is also necessary. The only obstacle is this impurity in the mind. The tendency
Though it is effortless, yet you have to make the effort.
finally, in the final sense, you'll realize that, okay, none of this was necessary. There's nothing new to gain. But the problem is the tendency to go back to thinking that I am a jiva. I am this limited jiva. I have these problems. I have these limitations and these identifications. And this is a, conditioning of the mind. It has been like this, not just in this life, but from many lives. This conditioning, it's a very deep rooted conditioning, and that's why it takes time to overcome it.
Thank you.
Yes, June.
Oh, Metaji. So we just mentioned that rishis are different from jnanis.
Yeah.
Can you explain more about this, please?
Rishis are the ones who are mantra drishta, the ones who heard the Vedas or saw the Vedas. The Vedas were revealed to them in meditation. Jnanis are the ones who know that they are Brahman.
So a rishi can be a jnani and can also not be a jnani as well.
Yes, they can be or they need not be jnanis.
But we don't know if they were jnanis.
We don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll stop for today and we'll continue next class with the topic of Atma. Om Purnamada
Namidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti.
Hari Om Shri
Om Shri Guru
Hari
Om.
Thank you, Medhaji.
Thank you,
Thank
Medaji.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Medaji.
Thank you, Medaji.